Senator Amanda Stoker, Minister Alan Tudge, thanks for joining me this evening. Now, Senator Stoker, I want to ask you a quick question on touching on the topic of women in business. Now, I'm in the finance industry, and the finance broker space especially is still quite male dominated. However, female representation is growing. There are some wonderful women's groups emerging, and one of our leading industry magazines, the Advisor magazine, is also led by a lovely lady by the name of Annie Kane. Now, what advice and encouragement can you give these professional women who are watching tonight's interview?
Well, the first thing you can do is invest in yourself. Become as skilled as you can, as confident as you can, and build the, skills of relating to one another, building the relationships that are necessary to build a client base or to get the networks you need within your profession to get ahead. You also need to help each other. Some of the best help you can give to those in your profession is just to build another woman up. And you can do that whether you're a bloke or whether you're a woman. And I know that some of the greatest help I've received in my professional growth has been from blokes in the profession who I think were fathers of girls themselves. And so there was no shortage of people who wanted to see women succeed. Sometimes you needed to ask for that help, but it was there. It was there if you needed it. And I guess just back yourself. You need to do a great job and you need to bring it. But if you're prepared to do that and prepared to make the investment that's needed in yourself, the professional qualifications and in the personal skills, there's no reason why you can't do really well in whatever you set your mind to. But don't hesitate to reach out and build relationships of mentor and mentee with people who you admire. It's rewarding for them to be able to give something back, and it's rewarding for you to be able to draw upon the experience of somebody who's done this before. That's
really good advice, actually. It's quite different. Yeah, good one. Now, just to follow on from that, Senator, if we can stay on that topic of women in business and in the workforce in general, Parliament is a tough place. It's a really tough place at the best of times. However, you make it look so easy. What tips can you give? You do. What tips can you give all women out there on resilience and how to handle those situations where a female may feel intimidated in a male-dominated workplace?
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." If you feel intimidated, it's something you're allowing to happen, whether it's by being underprepared or not building your confidence in what you do enough. I'm big on the personal responsibility aspect of that, and we can all play an active role in making ourselves better and better all the time. Look, it's not easy. Nothing worth doing is easy. And I think one of the kindest things women can do for other women is be honest about the fact that you might look like you've got it all together, but actually your house is filthy and you've probably got too much dry shampoo in your hair, and it's probably time to take out the dry cleaning and all of those things, right? Nobody's perfect and we're all works in progress. But I think if we drop the facade of perfection and we're a little bit more real about it, it'd make it easier for other women who are starting out to see that their goals are very achievable. And a political contribution for those women who want one is very achievable. You got to work hard, and that's true of anything worth doing, but it is very much within reach.
That is so true. No, thank you for that. That's great advice, quite inspirational, because you do make it look so easy. So, so ladies out there, follow this lady. Minister Tudge, in my industry, we see a gaping hole in financial literacy and basic money management skills and principles. Now, this can, as people go from childhood to adulthood and right throughout their life, this can cause a person a lifetime of pain. As Federal Education Minister, would you like to see more emphasis on financial literacy in the school curriculum? And can anything be done to boost this?
It's a very good question. I mean, Paul, it obviously starts with maths. I mean, if you can't do the basic maths, you can't really be financially literate. And so we've got to focus on that to begin with. And our standards have really declined in maths over the last couple of decades. And that's something that I want to see lifted up, not just for financial literacy, but because so many of the jobs of today and indeed the future are going to be dependent on the maths, science types of subjects in this technological age. I suppose the second answer to that question, though, is that can you have specific programs on financial literacy above and beyond just mathematical literacy? And I think the answer to that is yes. Some schools do them. There are some programs which are around. Can they be boosted? Yeah, I think they probably could be. And it's something that's worthwhile looking into.
No, good one. Yeah, maths, so important, so important. Now, to close, I'd love to bring politicians closer to people. There's this myth that you guys, may be a bit rigid and a bit insensitive, but we're going to change that. So I want to ask you both, what's your most embarrassing moment, or we'll just leave it at that, your most embarrassing moment in public life that you could share with us?
Who do you want us to go first?
I'll tell you what, certainly I recall, Paul, it was actually on my first campaign, and I'm out there when Tony Abbott was opposition leader. It was just before he became Prime Minister, I think it was. And I'm doing he comes out here, got the full press pack out here in Knox, going through Knox Shopping Centre. And the whole press pack is surrounding us as we go through. And you can barely see where you're going because there's so many cameras and media. And I'm introducing Tony Abbott to a few of the business owners. And then out of nowhere, this guy comes out and sort of takes off his duffel coat, and he's just got his red Speedos underneath. That's sort of my first big press pack. And I was just like thinking, oh my God, this is just going to ruin today. And anyway, it ended up being a very funny moment, and particularly it was funny because Tony Abbott was so sharp, just sort of quipping back, "Oh mate, you need to work on your six-pack," and just lighten the mode, and perhaps took the heat out of my skin as well. It's because I was really pretty embarrassed at the time.
Nothing like throwing one back at the interjector. That's fantastic. Senator, what about yourself?
So in the relatively early days of the COVID lockdowns, as they were happening here in Queensland, we shifted the Senate committees into a COVID safe and onto Zoom type format. But of course we were homeschooling, and I was still trying to do day-long committee hearings, 5 days a week sometimes. And at one point, I've been very strict with my kids. You don't come in the office. When mummy's doing a committee hearing, you don't come in the home office. It's very important. But at one point, my middle child, Jane, fell over just outside my office, and she was crying. And so I sort of gave her this thing, so, all right, you can come on in, it'll be all right. And I just sort of gave her a little bit of a pat, thinking everything would be fine. But she took that as license to, oh, I'm allowed in here now. This is great. And before I knew it, while I was asking questions of, I think, the Reserve Bank or something like that, she's climbed on the back of my chair, is giving me a head and shoulder massage, and I became the Australian version of that BBC report where the kids start barging through the background and running around in their scooters. And I was mortified at the time, having put all this effort into being a well-prepared professional to ask important economic questions about our COVID response. And, I was mortified. But as it turned out, it became a soft and friendly story that, while it did run on every single news channel for a few days, it was well received, and people saw it as a humanising moment. And so I suppose in the grand scheme of things, the embarrassment turned out okay.
Yes, I actually do recall that one. I was seeing that in the media. That was fantastic.
Well, Jane still loves it that we can be out and about and people recognise her, not me, as the person who made the cameo. So you know, maybe she can do this better than I can.
Love her work, love her work. Oh, well, you'd be the most relaxed senator with a nice massage from your daughter. Well done. Senator Stoker and Minister Tudge, thank you so much for your time and being so generous with your answers. Have a lovely evening and thanks once again.
Thanks.
Pleasure, Paul.